Beyblade Surge is the 5th season of the Beyblade saga, and I have a lot to talk about in this season. A lot of good takes, a lot of bad takes. This one is very mixed inside of me. This season follows two protagonists, believe it or not. Our first protagonist is this guy named Hyuga. He's like this little energetic ball of energy. Our second one is Hikaru. He's more of the intelligent one, you know, the one that really strategizes and figures things out. But these are our two boys, and we're gonna follow their journey into the new world of Surge. This season does have a main villain. His name is Lane Valhalla. He's pretty cool, he's pretty interesting, but for new characters, that's honestly really it. This season really focuses on all the old characters, believe it or not. So, you like Vault? He's here. You like Free? He's here. You like, I don't know, Solace? He's here! My bad, Solace. I don't know. Anyways, they're all here pretty much, but not all of them. Yeah, this is the season mostly for going down memory lane. So if you liked a bunch of these characters, they're gonna come back. But in my personal opinion, I think that's kind of like a pro and a con, and I'm gonna explain myself in that. But first, let's go through the story, and then we're gonna go into deep of what I found very mixed about this season and why I believe this season does have a lot more problems that the old seasons really didn't. So our story begins with Hyuga and Hikaru going down to their Beyblade club where they have all their friends. So this is their group. Hyuga and Hikaru are kind of the best bladers there, and they want to go on to the big leagues, right? They eventually get invited to join this big group of experienced pro bladers that is pretty much run by Honcho from the seasons before. Yeah, so really pretty much the rest of the season deals with the boys training on their Honcho and getting good enough to do this new move where they spark their launcher. And honestly, it's okay, it's just really them practicing. But the thing that really sets this story apart is later on where we start to meet Lane. So Lane is our main villain of this season, and his thing is that he has this thing called Flare, where he gets like really angry and he starts to like use his anger, I guess, to make his Beyblade a lot stronger. It's very interesting. Personally, I thought it was just kind of like, oh, powering up time. And so this season's power-ups aren't like the greatest. It really more focuses on teamwork, which honestly isn't like something that they've done before. So Lane goes around and starts beating a bunch of our old friends, like Free, like Louie, and eventually he wants to defeat all of the top bladers from the previous seasons. So we're gonna get into my mixed feelings on this season, because that's kind of it for the plot. The plot isn't really like that complicated. It really is just the boys train and Lane is going door to door and beating up all these old champions. It really is that. I feel very mixed about this season because our main focus are our old champions slash reoccurring characters. We have, we got Honcho, we got Solace, we got Free, we got Louie, we got Captain, we got Iger, we got Dante, and we got Vault. So these are our main guys again. And what I mean about main guys is these are the characters that our two boys are gonna interact with. And so I think I got like very convoluted because I really did like that we got new characters every season. And so for us to bring back all these old characters, I felt very like, oh, so this one's more like nostalgia bait. And at first I enjoyed it up to a certain point, and the reason is I love these characters, right? I didn't grow up with them, but I've been watching every season before, and I get attached to our main boys. I love these boys. These boys are awesome. But the thing is, it goes down these two problems where I don't know what the show wants to be. I guess that's the best way to describe it. Like, I don't know who this show is for. I don't know if it's for the fans or if it's for new watchers. I see problems with either side. The problems I see are, one, if the show is for fans of the show that have seen every single season, it doesn't really respect the characters all that much. And if it's for new fans that have never seen the show before and they're barely getting into it, then it makes you feel like you're missing out. And so we're gonna get into these two glaring problems, in my opinion, because I really love these characters. I think these characters are phenomenal characters and they work very well against each other. But the thing is, it takes away focus from the main cast. It makes other characters look way overpowered, and it makes old legends feel kind of useless. And so we're gonna go down those two routes for fans and for new watchers. First, we're gonna go down the fan route. If you've seen all the previous seasons, I don't know how you're gonna feel about this season. Honestly, going from season 1 to this season, I've had a great time. Honestly, like seasons 1 and 2 were about Vault and Honcho, and that's where we got to meet Solace and Free. Season 3 is all about Iger and Captain, and it's seeing their journey is great. Season 4, we got to see Dante and his journey with all that stuff, right? And so in this season, the problem is all these characters are like legends now, and they're kind of like the best bladers that you've ever met. And if you've seen the previous seasons, you know their strengths. You've seen their strengths. The thing is, this season doesn't really care about that, it feels like. One problem that I really had was I don't know who's stronger than who anymore. And I guess some of you can see that as a strength, being like, oh, well, you don't know, maybe, the time has passed. They could be stronger, weaker. Some people trained, some people didn't. But the thing is, I feel like all these characters have been kind of nerfed, like they've been pushed back. A good example of this is, in your opinion, if you've seen the show, who do you think is stronger? Do you think Honcho is stronger than Vault? That's a pretty simple answer. Honestly, no. Vault was the main character, he's the strongest, so Honcho is not going to be able to beat Vault. Here's another one. Who's stronger in here? Solace or Free? If you've seen season 2, you would know that Free is stronger than Solace. It just makes sense. And then it gets a little confusing now. Who's stronger now? Dante or Captain? Who's stronger? The main protagonist of season 4 or a secondary character from season 3? Which one of these two are stronger? If you watch season 4, you would expect Dante to be stronger because, he had his whole journey, he beat the strongest bladers. But no, in this season, Captain is stronger than Dante because Captain was able to beat Hyuga and Hikaru. Well, Dante lost to Hyuga the first time they battled. And this is before Hyuga figured out how to do this sparking, which makes your launch a lot stronger. And so, to me, watching these characters all from the previous seasons and then watching them here, I really feel like something's missing, like their soul is missing or something, because they're not like strong anymore. They're not great anymore. And as a fan, that kind of hurts, especially when we get to the finals. The finals of this just really mixes and matches them to a whole other level that makes me even more confused than I've ever felt before. Because these aren't new characters. These are old characters that we've seen journeys of and seen what they can do. For me to watch Louis lose to Hyuga, it just boggles my mind, because then how am I going to expect Louis to be stronger than Vault? How am I supposed to expect Dante to be stronger than Iger when I know Dante was stronger than Iger, but now in this season, not anymore? And so this is problem of power scaling that occurs that really kind of like threw me off a little bit. It's not the best, and it gets even worse because I mentioned the final arc. The final arc is just a tournament arc with tag teams. It's 2v2, which is a thing that they really wanted to focus on this season. A lot of the pairings are very like weird. They're very strange to me because it's like they have a strong character and a weaker character with them. And I guess it's to more balance it out, but even then, it's like all these characters don't really match together very well. How do you want me to expect Dante and Louis to be best friends? It's kind of like they were the last to get picked. It feels like if I were to make a tier list of like all these characters, on the top of the tier list, I would put the champs and the bottoms, the ones that aren't that strong. On the top of the tier list, I would put, Vault, Iger, Dante, because they're all our main characters. I'll maybe even throw Shu in there. Why not? And then underneath them are like the second strongest, are like used to be world champions even. Like I'll put Free up there, I'll put Louis up there. And those guys are like some of the strongest bladers we know. And then underneath them, I'll put maybe like Solus, because you know he's not the strongest, but he's not the weakest. And underneath him, I'll put somebody like Hancho, Captain. I'll put those guys down there. But the show doesn't want that. It doesn't want that. The show wants you to see everyone kind of the same. And so how it will go from like bottom to up now, it would go like Hancho and Captain are like down here. Solus is up there, right? Right on top of them, which, you know, makes sense. But then right after Solus, it's gonna be Dante, Louis, Free, and Fault. And then on top of them, now it's Iger and Shu. Because that's what the show represents. Iger is like this strong character that no one can beat. He's like the villain's main objective. And Shu, of course, is Shu being like the strongest blader ever. But now Dante and Vault got knocked down. If anything, I could even knock down Louis down to Solus's level, low key. Like, he isn't that strong anymore. And so that's a big problem for me as a fan, because I know what these characters can do. I've seen what they can do. Their strength. And yes, it's a new playing field with new Beyblades, but these guys are considered old legends. So I would expect their power to kind of stay the same. And it just feels like instead of these characters being S-class, now they're all A. They're all A-class, and S-class is now reserved for like one or two characters. And everybody else that's not A-class is just like C, D tier. It's just bad. It's just not that good. And as a fan, that kind of hurts, seeing my favorite characters kind of being brought down. And that's my problem as a fan. It feels a lot like this season doesn't treat a lot of these characters with respect, but it does respect other characters. And I do love that. I love their journey. Shu has a beautiful journey. Another one is Iger. He has a pretty decent journey. And I liked it, but it just felt like that as a fan, that these characters weren't really being treated with respect. Shoot, friggin' Captain and Hancho get raised up a level, low key. I don't even know why. Like, they got stronger. And so that's my general impressions as a fan of the first 4 seasons. I didn't grow up with this, so again, I'm just kind of like a guy just going in and watching. And these are my impressions of this show. But now imagine you aren't a fan. Imagine this is your first time ever watching Beyblade. Now we get into even more problems. And it's just kind of like, what? What is happening here? So, you've never seen Beyblade before, and you're watching Beyblade Burst Surge as your first season. How are you going to know what's happening? I don't understand. How would you know? Because the show doesn't really give you that much information about the past. It just expects you to know who these characters are. How are you gonna know who Free is? And you might think like that's a good thing, because it's like, oh, you get to experience it for the first time. You get to experience Free throwing his Beyblade with his hand for the first time. But the thing is, if you're a new fan, if you've never seen Beyblade before, this season is not gonna help you understand these characters. It's pretty much gonna tell you, yeah, you don't know this, go watch the other seasons. That's what it tells you. That's what it shows you by you watching this season. Like, a good example of this is, again, Free. When we go see Free, we see a deer. It's like a little deer. Hyuga finds this deer, and he follows it, and it leads you to Free. If you've never seen Beyblade before, you don't know what the heck that deer is. You're not gonna know what that's for. And first of all, you're gonna go up to this place and just find Free Beyblading, and you're gonna be like, why is he in the forest? You're not gonna know that that's his place. That's where he grew up. That's where all of these important events happen to him. That he loves his physical strength. That he loves being out with nature. You're just gonna think like, oh, it's just this guy in the woods, and he just does whatever. It's just very weird. It feels very weird if you've never seen the show. I think that's not really good, that the show doesn't really explain to you why you should care about these characters. It really is a good example of what it really is. It's like watching Avengers Endgame without ever watching any Marvel movies. Which, believe it or not, I know somebody that did that. That person went into that movie not knowing anything, and then they kind of just sat there not knowing what was going on because everyone around them was cheering and having fun with all the references, but that person was just sitting there being like, who is this person? What is that person? Who knows what's going on? And so the big impactful moments didn't really hit with that person in that movie. And that's what this season feels like. It really feels like if you don't know what's going on, you're missing out on a big chunk of the story. A good example of that even is Shu. Shu has this deep journey with Lane, because if you've seen the season before, you know Shu went through the same journey as Lane, becoming a villain, learning that friendship is important to Beyblading, learning to have fun. He went through that journey. We saw it. But if you've never seen the previous seasons, Shu just kind of comes around as like, I'm gonna help you even if you don't want it kind of guy. And it's pretty weird seeing that of Shu because you don't know who Shu is. So you kind of just see him as this guy that's like, yeah, I want to help this guy, but I don't know why. Oh, by the way, I did go through that once. They just kind of drop it in like one line and just leave it. You don't know that history. So I don't think it really works as a season for new fans because there's nothing new. Everything is from the past. So this season really has a lot of issues for fans and non-fans of the season. And I think deep down, the main characters kind of don't even matter. They really don't. Like, they're just kind of there. For most of the season, they're just there. And it's kind of just like they're the vehicle to introduce all our old characters. And that's pretty much it. Our main characters, they're interesting. And I do love our main characters. I love them. But they do suffer from a problem. And it's such a weird problem for them to have. The best way to describe the problem they have is they get all these benefits because of the people they know. And it's very strange. It's like they know Hancho, and Hancho knows all of these guys. And so now they get to meet all these guys. And it really feels like if you don't know somebody in that little group, you're not gonna get in. I'm sorry, random guy, you're not gonna get in. You're just not. But Hyuga and Hikaru are because they know Hancho and they know Captain now, and now they've met freaking the champions of this whole series. And guess what? Now they're gonna go fight the champions. It's just very strange that that happens. Another thing is this season's villain is very strange too, because he just doesn't understand what's going on, really. He just kind of wants to bulldoze everyone else and become the best like that. And then at the end, he's just confused, like, why do I feel so unsatisfied? That's weird. What do I really want? And then he learns like, oh, I just want somebody to match my level. And so, I don't know, this season is so strange. It has a lot of weird takes, and it kind of kept throwing me off. If I had to rank this season, I would have to say it's not my favorite because it really feels like it doesn't know its own identity. And it sucks because it's a great season. It's a really great season. It just is boggled down by a lot of problems that the series itself can't handle. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that the season is very short. It really has to speed up everything really quick. And I think that's why all these glaring problems occurred. I think if this season did have room to breathe, it could have established the previous characters. It could have established Lane as a better villain. And it could have established Hikaru and Hyuga's journey into becoming one of the best bladers in this season. But it just doesn't. Like, I can't even go into the main story because there really isn't a story. Like, there really isn't. What it is just us going down memory lane, meeting these old characters, fighting them, and moving on into the next one. That's not a story. That's just us going pinpoints to pinpoints. And that's why this season is very weird. It's a very strange season. I hope going to the next seasons, that problem isn't really there anymore. I hope they really establish themselves in their own individuality. It feels like they will because the next season after this is Beyblade Quad Strike. And I see that they do have new characters there. This season on its own does fail in a lot of things. Don't get me wrong, there are things to enjoy about this season. If you do love Beyblade, you still gotta watch this season. This season is just great, but it has glaring problems, and that's fine. You know, not everything needs to be perfect. Not everything needs to be some grand experience. But this season, as a fan and a non-fan, it just does feel a little weird. I would have to give this season like a 5 out of 10. It's a very right in the middle show, but honestly, y'all did Louis dirty. Y'all did. They did. He should not be losing like that. He should be one of the best. Let's be honest. Louis is awesome. You should not be doing him like that. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll be here for the next season. Moving forward, we're going to finish all of the Beyblade Burst Saga soon. And so I have some great plans after that. But I hope you enjoyed. Peace.